We're also standing up to social media censorship. That's the new thing. That's the new thing. You know, I'd rather have fake news like CNN. I would rather have fake news, it's true, than have anybody, including liberals, socialists, anything, than have anybody stopped and censored. We gotta live with it. We gotta get used to it. We're gonna live with fake news. There's too many sources. Every one of us is sort of like a newspaper. You have Twitter, you have whatever you have, Facebook. But everyone, you can't have censorship. You can't pick one person and say, well, we don't like what he's been saying, he's out.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, are the fake news liars literally in bed with FBI agents, and could that explain how certain documents just always seem to magically leak unexpectedly? We're going to take a look at some new reporting coming out of the TruePundit.com. Also, we're going to take a look at a bunch of other news stories, including an update on what's going on with 8chan and the founder's plea for fairness. But we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more, so you guys want to stick around. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. As always, I'd like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page. There'll be a big red subscribe button right here. Click that. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. So, today we're picking up obviously where we left off. We're taking a look over at the Q board first. Last post we got was Q post 3570 on August 1st, and we haven't heard from Q since. That most likely has to do with a couple things, but mostly I would say it's because the 8chan website was deplatformed by the big tech censors just the other day. We're going to take a look at the story developing out of that and a few other interesting news stories. Plus, like I said at the beginning, there was a pretty big story coming out from the True Pundit talking about how it's possible that certain individuals at CNN were engaged in sexual activity with FBI agents in order to procure information for the news. And you can't make this stuff up. You're going to have to check out the story for yourself. But before we do that, I always encourage everyone to come back here to the landing page, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. As I always say, there's an algorithmic manipulation going on behind the scenes. Google is subliminally manipulating what you see and what you are able to see, because they're the arbiters in their minds of truth and morality, and they're going to tell you how to live your life. Because if you are a conservative who happens to be a Christian, your values do not co-align with Google's, therefore you are to be discriminated against. So that's why I always ask you guys to come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Helps the channel out big time, and it is basically how we keep getting information around the mainstream media chokehold that they have on the narrative. So also, if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon the Great Awakening, and you want to get a better idea of that, go watch this video, share this one on your social media as well. All of it can be found here on the homepage. So with that, let's get into the latest story. Here's a new story coming out of the Gateway Pundit talking about an appearance that Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer made on OAN, saying that he's hearing that criminal charges and indictments coming from the IG investigation on FISA abuses are ahead. So we've been hearing about this a lot lately, and I think this is the one thing this is the reason why they've launched the main attack on us. You can see it. It's fairly obvious. They took down the 8chan boards. They've been DDoSing the vote boards all night, all last night, and for the last however many weeks. They've attacked our way of communicating. They are attacking free speech, really, because they're trying to shut down our forum for having a discussion. It's literally, as the founder of 8chan says, or the owner, I should say, of 8chan says, it is literally just a pen and paper. But they're terrified of that because they can't control it. And guess what's coming up? The IG report. Inspector General Michael Horowitz has been working on a report for quite some time now in conjunction with both John Durham and other individuals in the Department of Justice and at the FBI. Now, why is this important? Well, because those investigations are the ones that are going to They're going to expose the abuse of the FISA court. And, unequivocally, if we haven't gotten to this point yet, which I think we already have, and passed it, prove beyond a reasonable doubt that not only did President Trump not collude with the Russians, he was actually set up by our own intelligence agency to make it appear as though he was conspiring with the Russians, to predicate their spying on his campaign, to then try to find any other dirt on him in order to remove him. And the rhetoric is getting heated and disgusting. I don't know about you guys, but when I turn on the TV and I hear people yelling at President Trump and saying he's a white supremacist, I'm starting to realize that they have nothing left. I mean, just do a quick search on Google. You'll see these stories coming out of the New York Times saying Trump is a white nationalist who inspires terror, right? And it's just complete hyperbolic garbage, nonsense. These people are trying to rile up the masses and to get them in some sort of fever pitch against President Trump because they are being exposed. These big mainstream media fake news companies have been involved in covering up the fact that the deep state was trying to set up the president. They're complicit in the cover-up. Or, like I've said, they're either complicit or willfully ignorant. Either way, they obviously have a political bias. They are not reporters. They're activists. They write these stories, publish them on a national platform, and then they just walk away. And the biggest problem is not that they're publishing these stories. It's like President Trump said, the clip you saw at the beginning of this video. It's not, I would rather have the fake news than to have the fake news working with big tech to censor free speech, to shut down speech in general, right? Speech that is not illegal, speech that has not violated any law that exists, constitutionally speaking, speech that is protected by the Constitution. Even speech you don't like is protected. The only speech that isn't has to do with things like fire in a movie theater, other, there are incitements to violence, but that's it, okay? And these big tech companies are liberally biased. They are authoritarian in the way that they deal with these problems. And all they want to do is indoctrinate you on their perspective. They're the arbiters of morality. They're the arbiters of truth. And if you don't follow them, you're obviously a deranged conspiracy theorist, a deplorable human being, right? Well, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has ordered the state criminal probe into Jeffrey Epstein's case. Now, this is a very big move in the right direction, and this is probably part of the reason why these big tech companies are coming after us, because we're exposing what was happening on Epstein Island, okay? Women are coming forward. We're talking about interstate sex trafficking. We're talking about his private island. What are we going to find was happening in the Virgin Islands on Little St. James, in his temple, or in the underground complex that may exist beneath his temple? This is why they're terrified. And we're here uncovering this. So what Ron DeSantis says is that he wants to go back and look at how Rick Bradshaw, the sheriff in Palm Beach County, handled the conviction and subsequent jail time of Jeffrey Epstein, and also the investigation. So we're going to go ahead and wait and see how this all pans out. But what it looks like to most people from the outside looking in is that this was all covered up, that there were people involved who claimed that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in some sort of intelligence agency, or involved in just intelligence, some ominous word that just means he was untouchable at the time. And that was the word. Like, for instance, Alexander Acosta apparently was told that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in an intelligence community, so he backed off and they gave him a sweetheart deal. Well, what kind of intelligence community is employing and using a guy like Jeffrey Epstein, who is a serial trafficker and abuser of young girls, underage girls, not to mention all the other crimes that are coming with that, with those charges? So, look, this to me is what they're afraid of us continuing to uncover, which is why they want to shut us down. And that brings us to this story. Jim Watkins, who I don't want to say too much, but very close friend of mine, is with Jim and his son right now. These are Jim Watkins and his son were the ones who are running, and Jim was the one who owns 8chan. And what 8chan is, it's the forum where Q posts. And if you guys aren't familiar with it 100%, it's basically any internet, comment forum where you go up and you say that, everybody posts about whatever. You can organize by topics. You create a thread, which is just a forum for posting comments about a topic, and you talk about it. Now, they've come after Jim Watkins' website, and this has been quite unfair. Now, they're doing everything they can behind the scenes to renew the site, but Jim will be the first to tell you that what's happened here is completely unconstitutional. And let's just put it this way. I know some people are working right now as we speak, for anyone else, whatever, to fix this problem. And guess what? We are going to fix it. And 8chan will be back up very soon. Don't worry about that. You can mark my words there. But there is this going on, and obviously this story is pretty big. Now, what the whole claim is that this El Paso shooter took the manifesto and posted it to 8chan, which isn't even true. As Jim Watkins points out, the manifesto from this psychopath who went and shot up that store was originally posted to Instagram. Then somebody, I think 15 minutes after the shooting took place, took the manifesto and posted over on 8chan. And then subsequently, within minutes of that, the team over at 8chan was reporting that directly to the FBI. So, but they take it off, but they've removed their services. Cloudflare, the big tech company who's about to go out for a big IPO, initial public offering, so they're trying to go mainstream and go corporate, decides to kick the little guy out. And this small internet company that's just about free speech, they decide to deplatform them for the fact that they're a breeding ground of whatever term they want to use. They call you a white supremacist. They call you a white nationalist. They're really the racist, which is the funny part, because everything is seen in the scope of race to them. Whereas you don't see that with the other side. Just a little aside there to what we're talking about. But they've deplatformed this website, and we're going to get it back up. You can mark my words on that. But what's very interesting is now apparently Jim Watkins is being called into Congress. Of course, the Homeland Security Chairman Thompson and Ranking Member Rogers sent this letter out. So, of course, the U.S. House of Representatives is trying to get 8chan in there to, it's probably just a show trial to lambast them and to defame them and to say how free speech needs to be curtailed for the public good, when they know just as well as everyone else that when you start shutting down free speech, that's when you get into authoritarianism, and they are the most authoritarian people on the planet, the extreme leftists in Congress who want to have just 100% government control of everything, right? They're the ones who are trying to destroy this country, in my humble opinion. I'll leave a link to this. This is a YouTube video where Jim actually makes his plea to basically the world at large, I guess, that what's happening is unfair, and that the company that deplatformed them is doing it for certain reasons, and talks about the Instagram fact that the post was made on Instagram first, and that they unfairly targeted 8chan when nobody's talking about deplatforming Instagram. No, they just go after the little guy. So I'll let you watch that if you want. RT is putting together I don't even know how to put this, just propaganda, which is not surprising from RT, talking about 8chan and incels and QAnon, 5 things the internet demonized the MSN and what they really are. Well, you read all this stuff, and it's kind of just a fluff piece with no real interesting tidbits or facts or anything. But here it is, the QAnon one, where they're describing what it is. They say the mainstream media views it as a sinister right-wing conspiracy theory capable of mobilizing violence driven by a shadowy puppet master Q, focused on defending Donald Trump from the deep state and ushering in mysteriously ominous Great Awakening. I mean, this is where it's like just completely fake news, right? So you read these things and they just slip that stuff in there. So, so subtly, like it's not a big deal, right? This is from the FBI report where they're talking about the anti-government identity-based and fringe political conspiracy theories very likely motivate some domestic extremists, wholly or in part, to engage in criminal or violent activity. But we'll see later about the other part of that quote, which actually matters. In reality, appealingly, this is what they say in reality it is. Appealingly ambitious to yet completely unsubstantiated social media thriller hoax prank that feeds on the very real alienation between the elite, ordinary citizens with a penchant for cryptic clues and a puffinic thinking. Okay, well, that's just a really fancy way of saying they think it's a big LARP. Well, it's not a LARP. So obviously RT is just as bad as the rest of them. And they say toxicity 2 out of 10. QAnon is no more harmful than the moon landing, flat earth conspiracy theories. This should be treated as online entertainment, not hard to imagine unintended consequences of using the state security apparatus to suppress it. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the only statements that actually is true, that they don't understand suppressing QAnon is actually going to be very negative. But overall, this article, you just got to go past it. Now, the internal Google memo that just was put out, yesterday, talks about the fact that the whistleblower, this Kevin Cernicki, you guys probably have seen him already on the mainstream media. Trump's been tweeting him out. He basically blew the whistle and said, look, he says what we've been saying for months, years on these channels. The Google CEOs and top brass were crying the day after President Trump got elected, crying like little teenagers and little teenage children. They're up there, oh man, President Trump won, and I don't even know what to do. My life's over. Well, guess what? Your life's not over. Nothing bad happened. The economy's great. The country's doing great. Your psycho leftist friends and pals have just lost their minds and have decided they would rather drive this country into the ground than to shed a light on truth about corruption and crimes and their own. And to ever, like I've said before, these people would rather destroy this country than to ever face any sort of, culpability for their crimes or actions. So this is what they're saying now. There were internal memos in Google that were saying that he had promoted alt-right views. And these terms are getting so just diluted and they become so meaningless, and they actually become these racist, bigoted pejoratives. Alt-right, and there's white supremacists. Well, if everyone's who's a President Trump supporter is a white supremacist, including everyone who's black, including everyone who's Hispanic, including everyone who's Native American or Asian, then you're just using a term for the shock value. You don't even seem to comprehend the meaning of the words, right? Look, alt-right is a whole category on its own. Everyone wants to define the alt-right as this and that. The reality is, these terms are very toxic. And I am the one who calls them the extreme leftists because they use terms like alt-right. And the fact of the matter is, obviously, we need to come to a point where we don't just sling these terms around. But when you're maligned and you're libeled and you're slandered every day by a group of individuals who just coalesce around this ideology of, cultural Marxism and the idea that socialism is great and that, fascistic rallies to go shut down speech are just the best thing ever. You can only respond to that with powerful rhetoric that exposes their hypocrisy and their own inability for self-awareness, right? This is where we're at right now. So, you guys do with that as you may. Of course, Donald Trump calling out Google, saying that Sundar Pichai of Google was in the Oval Office working very hard to explain how much he liked me and what a great job the administration is doing, that Google was not involved with China's military, that they didn't help crooked Hillary over me in the 2016 election, and that they are not planning to illegally subvert the 2020 election, despite all that has been said to the contrary. It all sounded good until I watched Kevin Cernicki, a Google engineer, say terrible things about about what they did in 2016 and that they want to make sure that Trump loses in 2020. Lou Dobbs stated that is a fraud on the American public. And Peter Schweitzer went on to say that with certainty that they suppressed negative stories on Hillary Clinton and boosted negative stories on Donald Trump. All very illegal. We are watching Google very closely. So think about this. The example that Peter Schweitzer gives with Lou Dobbs is just spot on. What Peter Schweitzer says is it's illegal for Google. Yeah, they're a private company. Yeah, they don't have to love Trump or whatever, but it is illegal for Google to manipulate their algorithms and their search results to discriminate against President Trump and to work in favor of a certain political candidate, because we have federal election laws in this country that disallow that. Peter Schweitzer puts this example to the public watching. He says, well, just as it would be illegal for ExxonMobil to donate 20 million gallons of free gas to President Trump, Google can't manipulate their search engine to discriminate against him unfairly. Do any Google search you want right now using the term Trump, and I guarantee you the majority of the content that comes up is negative. And not only is it negative, it's biased 100%, or excuse me, tilted 100% to the left. And it's just a madhouse. They discriminate against conservatives. You don't even see anything about Christians. A lot of these big tech companies are just godless, hedonistic, sick, disgusting places of just complete debauchery and atheist. Just you can't even imagine what it's like, where people are dressing up like dragons and coming into work and saying, "Hey, guys, I'm a freaking dragon now, okay? Accept me for who I am." And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, well you're a dragon now. You're definitely Puff the Magic Dragon. You're not Bob anymore from accounting. You're now Puff the Magical Accounting Dragon." I mean, that's the level of psychosis that these people who are trying to sway public opinion and illegally subvert the 2020 election are involved in, right? And President Trump's calling them out. And yeah, I support the President of the United States. Also, one heads up to everyone out there in a different story here. 8chan on ZeroNet, this whole thing. So a lot of people, if you're into this deep, just giving you an FYI, Ron saying the team doesn't know about this ZeroNet site. Stay away from it. If you don't know what it is, don't look it up. It's just it's a peer-to-peer Tor browser that was kind of set up right after the 8chan board went down, and people were looking for a way to get 8chan back. And don't go there. It's a bad website. It's a bad thing. There's really nefarious stuff, and it's really makes you vulnerable. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but they don't know anything about it, so don't use it. Just a public service announcement for all of you out there who are into this a little bit deeper. So here's the story. The True Pundit came out with the sex scandal rocking the FBI. Top agents under fire for reported sexual affairs with CNN reporters. This is an actual story coming out of truepundit.com. And what this basically just talks about is it goes over what we know about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and the relationship that they had, and how they both had to were fired or resigned from the Bureau, and how they were both involved in basically orchestrating this whole thing against President Trump. But top FBI bosses are seemingly apparently implicated for sexual trysts with CNN reporters and anchors. And that just makes me think about that Yahoo News story that just came out about QAnon, and how there was a unpublicized internal document at the Phoenix field office or the Phoenix FBI field office that was leaked out to the public that probably should have remained internal, but then was taken out of context by the fake news at Yahoo, fake news reporters who decided to smear QAnon and to portray us as violent extremists. So this is interesting. How the times change, how does it feel, when, you have these kind of stories coming out and you're seeing firsthand what's happening behind the scenes at these top levels at the FBI, so-called top levels. We're going to have to wait and see on this story. It's still developing, and this is really been attached to the story where Peter Strzok was seen back at the FBI head office, And that story actually turned out, like we talked about, to be turned out to be about Peter Strzok filing a lawsuit against the FBI for wrongful termination, which is a joke. I actually think he was forced to file this lawsuit, and discovery is going to be great because, as Mike Cernovich, I think, was the first one I saw to point it out on Twitter, when we do discovery in the in the lawsuit here for Peter Strzok, he can't withhold his communications because he's the one filing the lawsuit. So he's going to have to put them forward as a part of discovery, and his communications with, I guess, his cohort, including his mistress, whatever you want to call her, Lisa Page and others. So that'll be fascinating to get all of that information. It's good to know that they're still setting themselves up for failure at every possible step of the way, because these people are not just sick, they're stupid, as Q has alluded to. Just a few more things. Q's told us, how do you capture a very dangerous animal? This is back in 2017. Do you attack it from the front? Do you walk through the front door? Do you signal ahead of time you'll be attacking? How do you distinguish between good and bad? Who do you trust to keep secrets? How do you prevent leaks? Who do you trust to complete the mission? How do you prevent warnings being sent? All of these questions and more really point to what we've been doing from day one. There's been a plan in motion. I think the plan's been set to go through quite some time here, but I'm just saying right now, this is how Q thinks. This is how the strategy behind President Trump, I think, is the strategy that President Trump takes this. Things may seem like they're not going our way at first or during some point of time, but then always you've seen over and over and over again, results, winning. My question to you guys is, are you sick of winning yet? Go ahead and leave me a comment below and let me know about that. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this episode. A few more things before we go. Like I said, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. Are you going to be in Miami in October 10th through 12th, 2019? And you want to come hang out with me and people like Sarah Sanders and Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, Matt Gaetz, Dinesh D'Souza, Jason Chaffetz, and many, many others. Please use the link in the description. It's the American Priority Conference. It's at Trump National at Doral, October 10th through 12th. You can get your plane tickets now if you're not in Florida. If you are in Florida, just go buy your ticket here on the website using the link below, and make sure you see me when you're at the conference. There's going to be a charity golf tournament on the Trump Doral, the Blue Monster. For those of you who know golf, you'll know that course very well. There's going to be a charity poker tournament, and we're working with these great charities you see here. We're working with Brandon Straka's charity for Walk Away. We're working with the American King Foundation and Vilev.org. So there is so much positive that's going to come out of this. Use the link in the description to get that. Also, there's a link to Brave Browser. Everything you just saw here on this episode has been on the Brave Browser. It blocks ads. It makes your experience that much better. I encourage everyone to download it and try it out. If you're asking what is it, it's simple. You don't have to do anything. There's no sign up. It's just like Google Chrome. You just go download it. You click this link, download it, install it. It's a web internet browser that you can use that blocks your blocks ads and also contributes to the channel here and supports Just Informed Talk when you download the link in the description. So thank you for checking that out. Also, don't forget to check out Just Informed Talk over on Twitter at JustInformedU. And you can come over here. We can have a conversation. Give me a follow, and we can talk about whatever you want. And also check out justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, which has links to the different Q stuff. It has links to different news organizations. It has links to breaking news. And, of course, the latest videos from the channel here as well. So come check this out. That's a great way you can help out. And a couple other ways you can help out the channel are both financial. There's Patreon, it's crowdfunding website, patreon.com. There'll be a link in the description. We've talked about it. Everything that's happening with demonetization at YouTube has really just meant that I rely on you guys that much more, and your support really has shown, and I'm so thankful. When you guys come here, if you haven't already, it's a crowdfunding website. You click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. Know you're helping create content on this channel. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, that helps out the channel as well. So before we go, and links to everything will be in the description, but before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it's truly greater. And I want to talk about Psalm 11, and it's talking about refuge in the Lord, and let's just talk about it. It says, I have taken refuge in the Lord. How can you say to me, escape to the mountain like a bird? For look, the wicked string the bow. They put the arrow on the bowstring to shoot for from the shadows at the upright in heart. When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes watch. He examines everyone. The Lord examines the righteous and the wicked. He hates the lover of violence, and he will rain burning coal and sulfur on the wicked. A scorching wind will be their portion. For the Lord is righteous. He loves righteous deeds. The upright will see his face. And I always read this one, and I like to remind everyone out there that as it says right here, it says, he, God above, hates the lover of violence, right? And that's something that I get upset about when we get called these names, when they call us these awful, hideous, despicable, disgusting slurs and names and racist names. But I persevere. I put my life to God because I know what their portion will be. As God says, or as the Bible says right here, their portion will be burning coals and sulfur and a scorching wind. Because those who are upright will see the Lord's face, meaning we are his children. We are saved. Jesus died on the cross for your sins so that you may live eternally with God in heaven. The Holy Spirit lives in us every single day and gives us the power to go out in the world and do great things. And we have to remember that. We have to embrace the positive and remember that the Lord hates the lover of violence. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit it, punch it, headbutt it, karate chop it, reverse roundhouse kick it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more, but that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.